Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below average Star Wars. I'm your host Peter and I'm joined this week by Iain. Iain, how are you doing?
Good, mate. Good to be back on the show, and it's good to talk about some Mandalorian.
Yeah, so we're a bit behind on this, so I know everyone's probably watched The Mandalorian loads of times by now. Me and Iain had started reviewing The Mandalorian, but Christmas, Odd Jobs and Rise of Skywalker Thiever got in the way, so we're finally back to finish reviewing The Mandalorian. We're going to do chapters 6, 7 and 8, so that's the last three chapters of season 1, and then we're going to give our overall thoughts on the series and what we're looking forward to in season 2. So first off, Iain, let's just get straight into it. So, last time we reviewed chapter 5, which was the Tatooine episode, and straight away, obviously, chapter 6, A Prisoner, which is written by Christopher Yost and directed by Rick Famuyiwa. I also want to talk about this straight away. So, obviously, the last episode, chapter 5, ended with like a sort of cliffhanger with Ming-Na Wen's character sort of lying there and someone's coming and walking up to her and standing over her body.
Yeah.
So I was expecting, oh, this is going to tie into the next episode. But chapter 6, The Prisoner, is just another adventure and it's not referenced at all. Did that surprise you?
A little bit, yeah, but I'm wondering if whoever this person is, I wonder if they'll tease it throughout the show more. Because obviously everyone's heard the Boba Fett rumours with the Spurs matching up to his and The Empire Strikes Back. So I wonder whether it might be a thing where they tease it for a couple of seasons. It might, because we didn't really get an answer to this throughout the season, to be honest. Like, it kind of got pushed to the side.
Yeah, definitely. Here's my thoughts on it. For starters, obviously, it's a Dave Filoni episode, which to me, if anyone's seen Star Wars Rebels, there's often episodes in there where it seems like filler, but then down the line, Dave always brings it back. Case in point would be the space whales.
Yeah,
it seems like a pointless episode, and then they're like a major part of the finale of the series.
Yeah, it was like when the episode of Rebels where Princess Leia brings the Hammerhead ships to thing, and then they ended up being in Rogue One.
And a big part of Rogue One, because they don't take that Star Destroyer down, they don't get off the planet. So
you definitely seed stuff for. So he doesn't do things just by accident. There's always something behind it. So
that's for me, is that he always sort of plants little seeds, leaves little breadcrumbs, and he often plays the long game. So, this could be a season 2 thing. It could even be like a season 3 thing. Do you know what I mean? Down the line. But speaking of, so I would say chapter 5 was very much an episode that was filled with nostalgia. And it was a case of keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, look out for things. So obviously the pit droids, the Mos Eisley Cantina, the signage in Mos Eisley, the Tuscans, like lots of things. So I would say that in an episode where throughout the episode, your eyes and your ears are picking up on things from the past, and rightly so, they've been sprinkling them on purpose. The fact that they've used that boot spur sound effect, to me, says that they're asking you to listen for it.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, like they obviously know what that sound means and who is it attributed to. So there's no way to me it's just a coincidence, especially not with Dave. If it was just someone who never directed Star Wars and who said, "Oh, it's just," but it's Dave Filoni, so it's got to be. It can't be a coincidence to me personally.
Yeah. So just before we move on to the next episode, so do you hope that Ming-Na Wen's character is alive and appears in season 2, and B, do you hope that is Boba Fett or someone in Boba Fett's armor?
I hope Ming-Na Wen's character alive, because I like her as an actress. I think she's really good. But personally, I hope it's Boba Fett. And I understand why you can't have Boba Fett in the first season, because then it just overshadow the Mandalorian, because it'd be like, oh, it's Boba Fett. But if they tease it for a couple of seasons where you start seeing more and he's tracking him, and then eventually, like say, it gets to like season 3 or season 4, it's the Mandalorian versus Boba Fett, and I think that'd be pretty cool.
It would be. It would be really awesome, yeah. I think my thoughts are, I really hope Ming-Na Wen's character isn't dead, although she did take that blast at point blank range. But I think she's a brilliant actress, so if that character's alive, that is great for us as viewers. We're going to get some really good performance from her down the line. For me, I don't really mind who it is, just as long as it makes sense down the line. So if it is Boba Fett, brilliant. If it's, I don't know, if people say Luke Skywalker, brilliant. If it's whoever it is, as long as it makes sense, I'm down with that. So with that, we'll march straight into chapter 6, The Prisoner. So basically what we found is that the Mandalorian contacts a former partner called Ran. And essentially he's looking for work to earn some money. Obviously, he's on the run with the child. And Ran says, well, I need your ship for a 5-man job. And it's with sort of bounty hunters, assassins that the Mandalorian has a past with. I'd say pretty much all of them. So he's joined by ex-Imperial sharpshooter Mayfield. He's joined by a Devorian strongman called Berg, which I thought looked brilliant. The fact that we've seen this, is how you pronounce it, Devorian, is that right?
Deveronian.
Deveronian, there we go.
Yeah.
Deveronian, in fact, they've got this like muscle version. I thought was really fun. Droid Pilot, Q90, who was obviously voiced by, this is really my short-term memory.
Voiced Rich Iade.
Rich Iade, yeah, which I thought was brilliant. And obviously that Twilight we saw in the footage from Celebration in the trailer. Twilight knife expert. I can't remember, how do you pronounce her name? Is it Zion?
Zion, yeah.
Zion, cool.
That's it. It's the actress is with Harry Potter, isn't she?
So she plays Tonks in Harry Potter, yeah, and she's also in Game of Thrones, where she can't remember character's name in Game of Thrones, but she plays Hodor's friend.
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
in that one. So they've gone to rescue Zion's brother from a New Republic prison ship. He's being transferred somewhere, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's just start off with like, what were your overall thoughts about sort of the story set up here?
It was interesting, like, to see the Mandalorian go back with a crew that obviously he was a different person, but obviously you see him he's quite honourable because he's with the Mandalorians and he's looking after Baby Yoda because it saved his life. But I get the impression when he was running with this crew that he was a bit of I don't know how to say it, like a bit of a rogue, like with this crew, because she talks about a job they did together and I can't remember what planet, but she says, he says, I did what I had to do, and she's like, yeah, but you enjoyed it and all that. So I'm guessing he wasn't the greatest person when he was running with this crew.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely get the sense of like his past is a case of like people change, and like even as I've found as an adult, like I've changed more as an adult than I can remember as a child, like through things that affect you. So like just because you have done bad things and like made questionable choices doesn't mean you can't choose to be better. So I think obviously she's hinting at this past, and obviously he's like, well, yeah, but do you know what I mean? But right now, obviously he's trying to be a better person. He's making the right choices for the right reasons. Yeah. Makes me think, obviously, going on as this universe gets bigger, I'm going to get more Mandalorian seasons and episodes. Obviously, this past could come back to haunt him like it does here.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, later on with the target they're trying to rescue from the prison ship.
Yeah, so I mean so obviously they go to the prison ship, they go to rescue, and basically what happens is they infiltrate the prison ship. They fight through security droids.
They were cool then. I like them.
Yeah, they look brilliant. I love the security droids.
They had a bit of the I've seen online. They had a bit of the K2 look to them, like the New Republic security droids.
Yeah, definitely. What you got to remember is that the New Republic obviously come to power. And obviously they're not made of money, so they are sort of recycling Imperial tech. Obviously they recycle the Star Destroyers.
To the Nadiri Starhawks.
Yeah, so I mean, not only do they steal them used during the battle, but then once the Empire finally falls, then these ships get taken to like a scrapyard where they're recycled into these into those great Starhawk ships, yeah. And obviously, so it looks like obviously the Imperial had security droids. So let's use what we've got. Obviously, we can modify them. We don't want them to look as, we don't want to have the same image as the Empire, because that's a bad image. But like this tech is good tech,
and it makes sense because in the Aftermath trilogy, Mon Mothma wants to demilitarize as well. So there might not be enough. There's not enough people to go around.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so they infiltrate the prison ship. The fight through the security droids. They then get to the control room where the security chief triggers a secret beacon before he gets killed.
Did you know who that was?
So that was Matt Lanter, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Anakin Skywalker himself.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So this episode is filled with cameos.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For the Matt Lanter one, I'm glad that he's in it, but it took me a bit out of it because it's Matt Lanter.
He didn't
because I hadn't really hit him.
Seen his face, yeah, but I've never really seen his face that much. It didn't really take me out of it. But it was like, oh yeah, bloody Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. So if anyone listening, obviously Matt Lanter voices Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars the series.
And Rebels.
Yeah, that's some of his best work in Rebels, actually. I think.
Yeah.
Those scenes. So Matt Lanter obviously activates this beacon to alert New Republic security, and then he's killed.
The Twilight kills him, but the Deveronian is going to kill him. That's played by Clancy Brown, who voiced Savage Opress as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Clancy Brown, who's also in Family Guy.
Yeah, he's done tons of voices for Star Wars, but he's voiced. I know the main one he's done is Savage Opress from the Clone Wars.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that. That's great. That's really cool. So I don't mind that so much because he's in makeup as an alien. So I would love to see Matt Lanter in fully makeup where it's like, oh, it's him if you know, but doesn't look like him. Especially with how handsome Matt Lanter is as well.
Yeah, good looking guy.
Would have been cool to make him look a bit ugly. So the crew ends up rescuing Quinn, that is Cyan's brother, that's who they're there to rescue. But they double cross the Mandalorian in the process.
They do, yeah. And they throw him in a cell, obviously, and then they leave him there. So obviously, it makes it look like he's done all this to the New Republic. It looks like he's killed the thing. So if the Mandalorian obviously goes to where this ship's going, I'm guessing the New Republic won't be very kind to him. Yeah,
no, definitely. So while this is happening, the droid that's flying the ship, Q9, sort of finds a transmission from Greef Karga.
Yeah.
Hinting that, if you come back with the child, we can sort of make a deal type of thing. So he then starts looking around the ship, and he finds the child. I've jumped ahead a bit, actually. So, obviously, Q9's seeing his transmission, and then he's looking for the child, so that's not looking good for the Mandalorian. And the Mandalorian's in prison now in the cell.
Yeah.
And then the Mandalorian manages to break out.
Yeah, he takes some droids. He really doesn't like droids.
I think as well, obviously, this droid's flying his ship, and then obviously these droids are in the corridor as well. So
yeah. So then he goes on a hunt for the remaining. He obviously shuts down the ship, obviously, and starts hunting the other bounty hunters who have double crossed him. I love some of this stuff. Some of this stuff is awesome.
Yeah, very much felt like sort of like a horror movie in a way where he's sort of hunting them down and almost like a Predator.
Yeah, it's very original Predator film.
Yeah, so which I like that movie and I liked how it was used here. It's bits where the lights are flashing on and off and the Mandalorian's moving in the background and there's no sound.
I saw something online where where the mouse droid startles at Mayfeld.
Yeah.
Before the Mandalorian obviously comes down, they were saying, "Oh, that's normally it's like a black cat that startles someone." So that was the Star Wars version, the black cat startling someone before someone actually comes and gets you, which I thought was pretty cool. Using a mouse droid to do that.
No, definitely, yeah. So he hunts them down, and what actually happens is obviously he defeats each of them sort of one by one, doesn't he? As he's hunting them down throughout the ship.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's quite stylized in a way that reminds me of a horror movie, which I enjoyed, horror action vibe. And then he returns to his ship where Q9's just found the child, and the child's about to use the Force on the droid.
Yeah.
And then obviously the droid gets shot in the back by the Mandalorian because he's come on board the ship.
And the child thinks he's done it.
Well, the child looks at his hand as if to say, have I just done that or have I not? And I thought it was really cute, but also really funny.
Yeah.
which I think you need that balance. I've just been talking about horror vibes in this episode, so also you need to try and get it back to being light in places as well, because it is family entertainment at the end of the day. So obviously you've had that sort of horror vibe on the ship, but then you've got this little bit of cuteness and funniness here from the child, which perfect balance for me. So the Mandalorian's obviously got himself out of the bad situation. He's also saved the child.
Then he leads. Then he obviously takes the Razor Crest back.
Yeah, because that things that the Mandalorian actually gets Quinn. He does actually save him, so that's what their job actually is. So he actually not only does he survive the sort of screw job attempt, obviously using my wrestling dialogue there, sorry, but so these guys try to screw him over. They actually do screw him over, but he manages to get out of it, and he manages to screw him over back. Sort of defeats them all separately, locks them all in a cell, and then he ends up obviously getting Quinn to the ship. And drops him off with Ran, where he's like, "Well, I've actually done the bounty, so he can give us the money."
Yeah, and then I like what happens next, where he knows he's going to get double crossed again, so he sets them up royally.
Yeah, definitely, 100% doesn't trust him. I think after what's happened, at the beginning of the episode, he didn't really want to have to work for them, but obviously he needed the money. So obviously, like hyperfuel is not cheap. Obviously, ship repairs aren't cheap. The delicious soup that the child eats isn't cheap. So all these things he'd be paid for, and he's on the run. But he did reluctantly got no work with them, but obviously they've screwed him over, so now he's like, they're going to screw us over again. So he does indeed leave the sort of tracking beacon, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Because he's about to launch a ship after the Razor Crest when he leaves, and obviously all of a sudden he's like, what's that? And it turns out to be the New Republic tracker that was on the prison ship.
It does indeed. So sort of he gets the last laugh where he's dropped them off, he's got the money, he's sort of flew off, and he's hidden the New Republic tracker chip that he's took off the New Republic prison ship with Ran and Quinn, and then obviously X-Wings turn up, which these are the T-75 or T-80s?
I'm not sure, to be fair. I'm not sure. It doesn't really say in the thing. I'm guessing they look like older X-Wings, to be fair.
I can't remember now what they look like.
Yeah.
I knew they had the new paint jobs, like the blue, and the helmets had the new crescent on, but I'll have to rewatch it. But yeah, so New Republic X-Wings turn up again. These are played by 3 directors, so more cameos. Obviously, Rick Famuyiwa has one, Deborah Chow's one, and Dave Filoni is one.
Trapper Wolf, that's his name. I knew there'd be a wolf in there somewhere.
Yeah. So they turn up, they take care of Ran and Quinn, which is good for the Mandalorian. Means these guys aren't going to be hunting them back anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously, him and the child managed to get away, which is quite cool. But the final scene is sort of that Mayfield, that Berg, which is the Devorian strongman, and Zion are revealed they're locked in the cell of the prison transport. So Mandalorian hasn't killed them. So he hasn't killed them because, like I said, he's trying to be a nice guy, he's trying to make better choices. But I have a feeling this could come back to haunt him in future episodes.
Definitely, I think they'll be back in series 2. Obviously, with a Scott settle.
Definitely.
So I'm guessing they're going to end up in a New Republic prison to start with.
That ship's going, So that ship's going to a New Republic prison. So we will find out.
I wonder if that'll bring because obviously they must have security footage on that ship. I wonder if they'll see the Mandalorian there as well, and maybe look for him as well.
I mean, if he shut it down, the ship down, maybe not, but maybe, and maybe this is how people find him, because I mean, I'd imagine the word of this child's gotten out now, and I think word of what this child can possibly do. So you've got to think, if this sort of New Republic intel that he's been there, someone like Luke Skywalker might be interested in that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely see that.
But yeah, so that's like the end of the episode. Have you got any thoughts about the episode before we move on to the next one?
No, I enjoyed it. It was a good episode. There was stuff in it I loved, like you said, the horror vibes with him hunting down the 3 other bounty hunters. I loved the X-Wings turning up. They were great, especially who was piloting them. Obviously, Dave Filoni, Deborah Chow, and Rick Famuyiwa. And like I said, I loved it. I enjoyed pretty much all the cameos in this episode as well. None of them took me out. I know Matt Lanter took you out a tiny bit, but
he's just too handsome. He's too handsome. I thought that's Matt Lanter.
What a problem to have.
Yeah. I wish I had that problem.
I know. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it's just theme of all these episodes. I've really enjoyed majority of them. I've enjoyed all of them, to be honest. And this was another one, and then it set us up to go into the finale. Well, the first part of the finale.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this episode was like a good 7 out of 10. So that's really good. Like if any television is over 5, that's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously, some of these episodes have been super packed and very, very strong, brilliant television. So for me, this was not brilliant, but it was great. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Obviously, we've got a little bit about the Mandalorian's past. It's building towards the Mandalorian's future. In fact, those guys are in the cell still, and yeah, I enjoyed seeing the New Republic because obviously, when I first heard that this was set in the New Republic era, I was like, get in, we're finally going to see that on screen. But this was the first time we've actually seen it.
Yeah, and how they operate and all that type of
thing. It was great to see sort of the logo, the droids, the prison ship, and then at the end, great to see the X-Wings. So yeah, overall, just a really, really good episode. Loved sort of that New Republic vibe. Loved this Mandalorian's past vibe. And yeah, I think it's set up for obviously the next 2 episodes, which would form the end of the season.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next episode. Is Chapter 7, The Reckoning. Obviously, Deborah Chow's back to direct this from the John Favreau script. So yeah, as we saw in the last episode, obviously a message had come through. Grief Karga has been trying to contact the Mandalorian. And as we see in Chapter 7, he receives a message from Grief Karga. So the town on Navarro, which is where sort of the first few episodes were set, has been overrun by ex-Imperial troops led by the client. So sort of Karga proposes that the Mandalorian that use the child as bait come back and will kill the client and free the town. And in return, Karga will square things with the Bounty Hunters Guild for the Mandalorians. It'll be a clean slate. And it could leave in peace. And with the client taken care of and no bounty from the guild, the child and the Mandalorian could then go free about the business. Obviously, the Mando, you can tell he definitely doesn't trust Grief Karga, and he definitely does not trust the Imperials, and he definitely does not trust the Guild. But as we've seen throughout the season, there is some people he does trust. Obviously, one of them being Cruel. Is it Cruel?
Kuil.
I always say that wrong.
Yeah.
Kuil, obviously, who is the Nick Nolte's Ugnaught, yeah. So he goes and picks him up. And he also gets Cara Dune, who obviously, we knew she'd be back. She was a big part of the promotional package, sort of going into this series. And so she's back here as well.
And they also obviously get IG-11 back as well, who obviously the Mandalorian doesn't trust.
Yeah, so straight away it's what, that droid's back? What? Yeah. And Kuil's I've rebuilt him and reprogrammed, which we've seen how good he is at rebuilding things. But it's now a nurse droid.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really funny. Again, the Mandalorian deals with some really deep and dark things at times, but it always has those little things that make it cute and funny, which Star Wars has always had. If you go back the original series, original trilogy, prequels, sequels, throughout Star Wars, it's always deals with deep emotional things that are sometimes sort of not easy to deal with. But again, it sprinkles in that sort of cuteness, that humor. That's keeps things grounded sort of for children, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, so you get this sort of this IG-11's back, voiced by Tiger, and he is he's a nurse droid now.
I love it.
Yeah. So he picks them all up, and then meet Karga and his associates. They get sort of attacked, and Karga's injured. But then the child uses the Force to heal him.
Yeah, which is pre-shadowing what we see in The Rise of Skywalker. Obviously, that's why they wanted that episode out before.
Yeah, so obviously this episode comes out the 2 days before The Rise of Skywalker's US release. So obviously putting that Force healing out into the world before the movie, which I thought was really cool and really cool thing to do.
Yeah, I loved that whole sequence where they'd obviously been attacked by those. I can't remember what they were called. I don't think we got a name for them, to be honest. Them creatures that attacked them, the flying creatures.
Well,
that was a beautiful shot. That.
Yeah, well, I mean, they look similar to Minoc, but I don't think they are Minoc. They're just similar.
Yeah.
Minoc being obviously the creatures from the cave where the Falcon parks in the big space snake or worm.
But yeah, Deborah Chow, I think, is probably my favourite director to come out of this. I think both her episodes have been really good, and this was like no different. I really enjoyed it. And then obviously with her directing the Kenobi show, the whole thing, it obviously bodes well.
Yeah, I mean, as well. I mean, what I was saying before about how obviously like some of these episodes have been like absolutely brilliant television, like top notch. Obviously, her two both fall into that category. So yeah, definitely exciting that she's going to be doing the Kenobi show. Again, she deals with like the intimacies really well. So obviously, like the child sort of heals Karga, and then Karga then kills his associates, and confesses his original plan was to shoot the Mandalorian and take the child to the client. But because of this,
I thought you'd try and double cross him.
Yeah, but because of this moment where the child's helped him, he's had like, oh well, you know what? I'll help the child. So again, it's like that little bit of humanity. Like, although the child's not human, but the child's shown like the best part of humanity where he's helped someone, and he doesn't even help himself. You know what I mean? He's done it like selflessly, and then that's what's led to Karga going, you know what? I'm going to make a better choice now. I'm going to help you. Which again is a big message of Star Wars all the way through, is that, you know, selflessness, making sort of that choice, and it can incite others into making better choices going forward as well, just being better people. And that is the Jedi way, really think about it at its core.
Oh yeah, going back as well with Cara Dune as well. I like the fact that when obviously we're going back a bit, but when he was trying to recruit her, she's like, "No, I don't want to do it. I'm not really interested." And then he just says, "Oh, they're Imperials." She's like, "Oh, I'm in straight away." So and obviously in the next episode we find out why she has such a hatred for the Empire, which is well merited. But I thought that was a nice touch where she was just like, "Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll fight Imperials any day of the week."
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, shows that like she can be down to earth and like, I want to settle down, but then as soon as you mention sort of big evil that's been there in her whole life, she's like, nope, back to work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because she also has that rebel shock trooper tattoo that she has to cover up in this episode, obviously, because it'll give her away. Is that she was definitely the next rebel shock trooper?
Yeah. So what happens next is Karga pretends that Dune has captured the Mandalorian, while Kuiil returns the child to the ship. During the meeting, Moff Gideon's troops open fire on a building and kill the Clyde and his bodyguards, which I thought was really cutthroat. The fact that, like, obviously, like, we thought that Werner Herzog was the big bad, but in true Star Wars fashion, there's a big bad above him in the shadows who's about to come forward.
He's also seeing Death Troopers again as well.
Yeah, so obviously we know how deadly they can be from Rogue One and obviously Star Wars Rebels. So Werner Herzog's character, who I've loved, is cut down viciously with all his men really in that building.
Yeah, it really shocked me that, to be fair. Because I was like, "Oh right, he's dead." I was like, "Oh."
And I think it goes to show that this Moff Gideon has a dark side. He's a nasty, nasty man, and like you got to bear in mind, like the Empire's fallen, so there's not many Imperials left, and then he's just killed these ones because they've failed him.
Yeah.
When it's not as if he can just recall more from the garrison now, because obviously that doesn't exist. So again, it goes to show that like he's a vicious man. But when that happens, obviously ends up trapping the Mandalorian in this building with sort of Grief and with Cara Dune. And sort of, as I said, Kuiil's on the way back to the ship with the child.
Yeah.
So what happens is Gideon arrives after he's killed all his own men and killed the client.
That TIE fight was sweet as well.
The
wings fold out.
I found that a bit weird because for me, that's like, it's cool, but for me, it's also like, well, none of the other ties do that. So if you've got a special one, and obviously it's like it probably is.
Yeah.
But like we've not, like for example, we've had ties landing in Rebels loads, and like they don't land like that. Do you know what I mean? The wings don't collapse down. So
maybe it's like a special.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's like an advanced one. You never know, and you never know if he's had like been working somewhere where they've got a factory where they test new ones, similar to what sort of the TIE Advance project with Thrawn in Rebels.
Yeah, the TIE Defender. Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be similar to that. So there's that as well. But I did love it. I love the way the wings folded down. It makes sense for it to do that. But for me, it's just a bit like, well, why have none of the other ones ever done that? But But yeah, look cool. Obviously, he lands in his tie, and he essentially demands the child.
He says, "Oh, you have something that I want."
Yep, and while that's happening, 2 scout troopers on speeder bikes intercept the Mandalorian's communications, and they then track down Kuil, and they shoot him. They shoot his bike,
no.
and he's lying in the desert, and they pick up the child. And that is the cliffhanger ending of that episode. So again, like I said before, I never tried this episode. It's one of the brilliant episodes of the season, one of the perfect ones. It's absolutely awesome. It sets it up for the finale really well. I love the ending. That was like a bit of a downer ending going into like the last chapter. Obviously, the last chapter, hopefully, would hope for like a happy ending, but we've got that peril feeling there now. We've seen what Moff Gideon can do. Obviously, he's killed all his own men and trapped them. He's also managed to secure the child. So he's a very serious guy.
Yeah.
What do you make of the episode as a whole?
I really enjoyed the episode as a whole. I thought the Moff Gideon might be one of my new favourite villains, and he's only been on screen for 10 or so minutes, I would have guessed, and he just came across as really menacing. And really, this, like, one of my complaints with everything is, like, sometimes the Imperials come across as, like, a bit, I don't know, goofy and incompetent. And he's certainly not that. He's certainly cutthroat. Like you say, just gunned everyone down in the bar, whether they're Imperial or not.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's one of those things, like, again, not everybody in the Empire is evil. Like, a lot of people, it's just, like, the army in a job, and the military in a job, and the navy in a job. Shown in Star Wars Resistance, if you've seen that, obviously with Captain Dozer. Obviously, he's ex-Imperial, has his uniform hanging up, but he's not necessarily an evil man. But obviously, this is where, like, Moff Gideon, like, was an evil man, and he is the evil side of the Empire.
Oh yeah,
and it's men like him is why the Empire like didn't work and why a rebellion started, because they were vicious and horrible to people.
Yeah, obviously you find out in the next episode what he was in the Empire, and it says he's an Imperial Security Bureau agent, and they're not good people.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But yeah, so for me, I think like this episode was great. I loved reuniting the gang. I loved having sort of Cara and Kuil back with the Mandalorian. I loved how Greef had sort of seen his senses come back to the sort of, not come back to the good side because he's not a force, but made those right choices now to sort of be with the good guys. And I had a really like sort of, it's almost like the Magnificent Seven when sort of the Seven come together. It was a bit like, getting like all these guys out together and they're going to go in there and like take care of this Imperial threat. But obviously they get there and then they don't realise the Imperial threat's not actually there yet, and it is Gideon and these men he comes with.
Yeah, definitely.
So
going back to Greef Karga as well. I love how it just seems like Carl Weathers is having the time of his life playing that character.
Oh, definitely. You've got to think like some of the roles he's had in his career, and then get a role like this where like it is like big budget television and it is fantasy, but it's got to be grounded in reality. Do you know what I mean? And like he very much grounds it there with the way he goes about it. And I think like obviously he's having the time on the press run. He was having the time of his life. That celebration, he was having the time of his life.
So I love how over the top the character is. He's like Mando and all that. I love it. He's great.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I think that's him as well. Like he's plugged himself into that, which I think it's brilliant. Like I'm not saying like Greef Karga is him, but obviously like I think the best roles are where you sprinkle a bit of yourself in there, and like he certainly does that here.
I can't believe how old he is. I think he's in his like 70s or something. He doesn't look it.
He will be if you think. I mean,
71.
Yeah, so
he looks good for his age.
He does indeed. Yeah, like I said. I mean, you got to think like of being an action star of this sort of 80s. Like I think he's kept himself in really good shape, and I don't think he's been one of them party boys in Hollywood, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think he's probably stay away from like drugs, especially the bad ones. Like if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think he looks great, and obviously like as we'll go to the next episode in a second, but obviously if Greef's staying alive, obviously he's in great shape to keep acting and keep being in this show and keep bringing that energy to the show, which is good. I think I'm just going to dive straight into chapter 8. So the next chapter is redemption. Yeah. Obviously, we had the cliffhanger ending from the time before where everything had sort of gone from bad to worse for the guys. But we get a little bit of a good start where sort of the nurse droid comes out of the ship.
Yeah.
And it rescues...
them two scout troopers that punch Baby Yoda. Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the scout troopers have killed Kuil, sadly, which was sad. Obviously,
I hate that, yeah.
Kuil's died, so he won't be returning, I'm afraid. But he's a great character. I really enjoyed him.
It's really sad, though. He said he worked his whole life to avoid servitude, and then just as he's enjoying his life, he gets killed.
Yeah, oh no, very sad, yeah. And I think adds emphasis on how bad this Imperial threat is. So obviously the scout troopers have picked up the baby in the bag, and they've been told to stop outside the town.
Yeah,
and they are they're punching the bag and stuff, which is it's funny, but it's also like I can't wait to see you guys die.
Yeah,
someone's going to get you. I hope it's a Mandalorian, but if not, someone's going to get you, and you are going to die.
Plus, me being ex-British Army, that is the perfect way to show what it's like to be in the military. That is absolutely perfect. I was in the army for 7 years, and that is what you do. Like you get rushed to somewhere, and then it's like, oh well, no, you have to wait. Like because obviously they've got the kid, and they said, oh, can we bring him in? They says, oh well, you have to wait for clearance. That is what being in the forces is just like.
Yeah,
so rushed around and having to wait everywhere.
Yeah, because they're quite bored. So obviously, like they're sort of messing on with the child, sort of hitting it in the bag and stuff, and then they're sort of trying to shoot stuff with their blasters.
That was great because it just proves the stormtroopers' aims are terrible.
It's one of them where like I was really funny and I got the joke, so I enjoyed it in that respect. But for me, it's like the reason why stormtroopers can't shoot is because, for me, I've always seen it as that it's just story. So like stormtroopers can't shoot when they're aiming at the main character.
Yeah,
but when they aim at minor characters, they can. Like, and that's just storytelling's been in every movie ever. So this was sort of like a tongue-in-cheek joke, but I couldn't help but feel maybe it was a bit too far. Like making too much fun out of Star Wars. If that makes sense.
Maybe.
So like I said, I did find it funny, but part of it was like, just show them miss once, but like they were both like missing for quite. I think they spent too much time there. If that makes sense, like it was more than a moment. If that makes sense.
I was seeing. I saw Alex from Star Wars explain saying he was hoping them two scout troopers would be tagging Bing from the old Legends.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool.
Yeah, because it makes sense why they can't shoot and they're kind of idiots, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be a cool theory.
Yeah, definitely. So that was the only thing for me. If I had to criticize it, would basically, like reference it, but like you've spent a bit too much time there. Like, and if they're all that rubbish, then like the Mando's got no problem getting out of this place.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things where like I was talking to for me, troopers, obviously when they aim at main characters, obviously they are going to miss because you can't have Han, Chewie, and Leia die like in the original trilogy. That makes sense. Like for example, when they're being chased around the Cloud City and the Death Star, both, both, and obviously like you see it in Rebels when they're being chased around Imperial Star Destroyers and stuff, and obviously like they don't get shot. Obviously you can't have those characters, but for me, how deadly they are is when, obviously, episode 4, the Tantive 4 gets captured and they board the Tantive 4. Like, they hit every rebel soldier when they come through that door.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Just like, I think that's Vader's personal legion, though, isn't it?
501st, I suppose, yeah. I mean, there's definitely going to be more skilled troops than others. And as the military grows, they'll definitely be hiring, like, less skilled ones. So I think I didn't mind them making the joke, but for me, it was just like, just show the miss a few times. Like, but for me... Yeah. Again, it's a while since I watched it, but like I felt they spent maybe a bit too much time on the joke. Yeah. Like hit the punchline and get out. For me, but yeah. So obviously they've done. I mean, the good thing about it is that it shows that they don't take things like super mega seriously, which is as a production, which is like you've got to be able to have that ability to sort of poke fun at yourself, which was good.
That's when Star Wars is like. I think that's when Star Wars comedy is at its best, though, when they're not trying to force it.
Yeah.
There's sometimes in the film where it's a bit too forced. Sometimes,
yeah. So that's how I felt. Like at first it wasn't, but then when they sort of spent a few moments, it was like, nah, you're banging it over the head now. Like you don't need to bang that joke as much. Like you literally just do it, and then that's the joke. But yeah, so obviously the troopers are sort of waiting, and they're mistreating the the child basically, and it makes you think, I can't wait for you guys to die.
I know, I've saw that online. They were like the two most hated people in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's Jason Sudeikis and Adam Pally, who are the scout troopers, who were two actors in that. And they were like, I bet when they woke up the day after that episode there, they were like, oh.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Everyone hates us.
Definitely. Probably charge extra for Comic-Con autographs now, though, the ones who punched the child.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I bet there's people there who loved it. There's probably not everyone loves Baby Yoda. There's probably people who find him annoying, because there probably is. There's the same for anything. So there's probably people who did enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. So next we see Gideon warns Karga, June, and the Mandalorian, because they're stuck in the house now, or the building. Sorry, that they will face certain death unless they agree to assist him.
And this is where we find out like information. Like this is where we find out that Greef is a disgraced magistrate.
Yeah, so I mean, basically something big happens first. Like IG-11 comes and rescues the child, and he kills those scout troopers.
Yeah.
So we'll have a big hurrah moment there. Getting A, we've got the child back. B, IG-11's being like, guess what? I am a nurse, but I've also got me bounty hunter programming.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wipe these out, and he's a good rider. He's riding.
Yeah.
He's riding that speeder bike really well. Yeah. So IG-11 arrives sort of to break the standoff between Gideon.
Oh, yeah, that happens after the thing. But when Gideon's talking, we find out Greef Karga is a disgraced magistrate. Cara Dune's from Alderaan, which makes perfect sense to why she would want to kill any Imperial she ever meets.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, our homeworld's been destroyed by the Death Star.
Yeah. And obviously, he obviously reveals the Mandalorian's name is Din Djarin.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Mandalorian, at first I thought, is this mainly about history? Because the Mandalorian's like, I know him. But then they say, oh, that's Moff Gideon. Like, he was a Imperial Security Bureau agent during the Great Purge of Mandalore, which we still don't know a lot about, but we're starting to get a bit more.
Yeah, so I mean, they've hinted at this Purge of Mandalore, which I'm guessing happens
after Rebels.
Yeah, I'm guessing like after, obviously, they must go against Bo-Katan and Bo-Katan's troops and Bo-Katan's clan.
Yeah, and then he mentions the E-Web, the big blaster they're setting up, and obviously he says, "Oh," he like taunts Cara Dune by saying, "Oh, Rebel Shock Trooper." She has like a real full name. I can't remember her full name. He says, and he says because obviously it means he must know all these people, like, so he must have information everywhere. And he sets up the E-Web, and he says, "Oh, all of her many of her comrades have been cut down by this weapon." And he said Din Djarin should know this weapon as well, because obviously he says during the Night of 1,000 Tears, Imperial gunships used them on Mandalore. So I'm guessing that's like a part of the Mandalorian purge.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Which I thought was all great information. Like, it adds so much lore to it. Obviously, I love the fact that she's from Alderaan. That's insane, really. And then obviously it fits with her hating Imperials.
Oh, definitely some things like, it 100% makes sense, so do it. And it obviously strikes a chord with the audience, because you're like, I really feel for it, I understand.
Yeah, as soon as I heard Alderaan, I was like, oh, wow. I was like...
Yeah, and obviously you get this backstory to Mandalorian a bit, some more little tidbits where, I don't know, for me, I would love to see, what's it called again,
The Purge, the Great
Purge.
Yeah.
So the Great Purge of Mandalore, I would love to see witnessed through, like, flashbacks again in the next season.
We'll see that in the next season, because they can't leave that unexplained. Obviously, at the end of the episode, we found out a massive reason why that needs explaining, but we'll get to that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, no, definitely. So obviously,
they say IG-11 arrives now.
Yeah. So he arrives to break the standoff, but Gideon does injure the Mandalorian.
Yeah, he does.
So quite badly. And we also see the child use the Force to deflect a flame trooper's flamethrower back onto himself, which was really cool.
Yeah. When IG-11's coming on the bike, though, I love the fact that the child's having the time of his life. You see him like laughing and giggling and like throwing his hands up and that. Yeah, IG-11 just cuts down Stormtrooper after Stormtrooper.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was awesome. Again, it brings back that joy. It's obviously quite intense 2 episodes, but this brings me that sort of fun feel to it. So the child uses the Force on a Stormtrooper to sort of use his flamethrower against himself. And
that was a cool Easter egg as well, because apparently that flamethrower's from the Force Unleashed. This type of armor with the paint job and that, apparently that's from the Force Unleashed.
All right.
which is pretty cool. I like the Force Unleashed games, and yeah, there is flame troopers on Kashyyyk in that game, and apparently the paint job's a complete match for the flame troopers in that game, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, lovely little Easter egg there for people paying attention. Awesome stuff. So obviously the Mandalorian sort of quite severely injured, really, and they're sort of stuck in this house, or stuck in the building, and sort of I've got nowhere to go, really. Sort of the Mandalorian sort of tells them, and sort of Mandalorian says, "Look, like if you go through the sewer grate, you'll be able to find the Mandalorians in the ground."
Yeah, the Enclave. Yeah,
but he's like, "I'm going to be, but I can't go. I'm stuck."
Yeah, I'm going to die, basically.
Yeah, it was quite sad, quite tense. Obviously, he sort of sends him down. And he's like, "Oh, the nurse droid's obviously a nurse droid now." So he's like,
he has to wait with him. Yeah,
I'll treat you.
He has to take his helmet off though.
But it's like, "Oh well, I can't show humans, can't show people my face." But then the droid's like, "Well, guess what? I'm a robot, not a person."
That's a great way of getting around that. Yeah.
Because you've got to think they probably can't see. Do you know what I mean? Like they probably like the way robots work. I'm guessing like they obviously access their surroundings through like signals and some electrical current, so like can't actually see his face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder what it'd be like to look through the eyes of like an IG droid. I wonder what you'd actually see.
So like, but I don't think robots see it. It must be a case of like they must like they have sensors and they sense things.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I don't know. Who knows? That's probably the big an episode in itself talking about how robots work.
IG robots.
Yeah. But so obviously the IG reminds him like, oh, like guess what? I'm a robot, not a. You get some cool moment where like, yes, all season the Mandalorians sort of hated droids, and it's also showed why. It's understandable why he does.
Obviously, yeah, his parents being killed by the droid army in the Clone Wars and all that type of thing. Yeah.
But then in this moment, like I said, in this moment, this IG-11 actually like removes his helmet because he tells him like, "Oh, don't worry, like I'm a robot, so I can't see your face. No one's seen it." And he administers the Bacta to his head injury.
Yeah, that weird spray in his fingers.
Yeah.
Bacta spray, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That so Bacta's good.
Yeah. So he gets the Bacta spray on. Same as like, because as soon as I said Bacta, I was like getting, because obviously the Bacta tank from
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And Vader's castle in Rogue One. That's what he's in when you see him.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
So puts the Bacta on his head, and then before you know it, the Mando's got his helmet back on, and sort of he's still injured, but he's on the mend. Yeah, and they go through the grate themselves and join the others. And that's where they find the Mandalorian like armor piled up.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
So like, are they dead or have they ditched it? What was your first thoughts?
I think they're dead. But then, if they're dead, how did the armourer not get killed as well?
I mean, here's to me, like, if they've gone there to hunt the Mandos, like, the armour's very sort of definitive, you can tell.
It's a giveaway.
So if I'm going to run away, I'm probably going to ditch it, and then I'll blend in with the locals. That makes sense?
Yeah, then come back for it a little bit, because she's still collecting.
Or just go and make more. Once you get start again, the next place, you have to start making it again from the scratch, which is not good, but you're also alive. That makes sense.
Yeah. But then she is melting it down, so I don't know whether that means they're dead. I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah, unless she's melted it down to then take with that to the next place and then start again.
Yeah.
But it brings that thing where like it's probably some continuity issue, but like obviously not to take these helmets off. But if them ones have run away, they'll all just have.
Yeah.
But it brings that point of like, if it was a case of survival or not, you would think, you take your helmet off. That should be like the rule, rather than like almost ruling yourself to suicide, which is what would be, I suppose, if the reason why you died is because you didn't take your helmet off.
Mind you, the very thing I could see a lot of them wanting to die before taking their helmets off. So it's kind of a grey area. I'm not quite sure whether.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where like we don't know how many more other like tribes there are. So like, it might be a case of like they need to get out to keep the Mandalorian like culture alive. So therefore, like self-preservation is more important. You know what I mean? Or if they all die there being brave, but then guess what? Wiped on history.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what? So I think we're gonna get like I think we should go in depth in that. Obviously, like the armor doesn't really give much away, does she? Like,
no.
obviously the armor is still there and she's melting stuff down. And she tasks the Mandalorian with caring for the child. So it's like he's a foundling now, like you were. But we haven't got a tribe anymore. So what we've got to do is we've got to drop it off back with its people.
This is interesting, this part, yeah, because I don't know what they mean, whether they mean Baby Yoda's people or the Jedi.
No, but I when she first says that, I'm like, all right, but then it's quite clear, like she's like, oh, like this child's people are the Jedi, and obviously you've got to think like the Mando, he's not like from Mandalorian, he's not from Mandalore, so like these guys obviously believe in like your peoples who you sort of identify with, not blood, not species. So obviously she's like, oh, he uses that force, and he's a Jedi, so you need to find other Jedi.
Is it Cara Dune that says, "Oh, Mandalorian's not a people; it's a creed"? That's what she says.
So I get the impression that I don't think it's always been like that, but I think since the purge of Mandalore, I think it definitely is more so. And I think like as the Mandalorian, as you see in Clone Wars, like they are like the people, but they obviously do welcome foundlings who they're fine, looking and they care for. So it's sort of quite nice. So I mean, look after sort of refugee children and raise them in their own ways and make them feel. I mean, to make them part of themselves, so to speak. And obviously, right now, I mean, nobody knows what state Mandalore is in. Is it like wrecked? No. Is anybody living there? I'd imagine like not. So like obviously, Tess says you've got to find the child's species and drop them off. Not species, its origins, and return to its kind. And then they do say that like I've heard stories like it's Jedi. You need to find these Jedi.
Yeah, because she says, "Oh, ancient." Something. How she says, "Speak of a war against people who used the same power as the Jedi."
But you got to remember the old Mandalorian. Sorry, the old Mandalorian wars from like thousands of years ago. It was the Mandalorians versus the Jedi. So they know about them from the like legendary tales from their history.
Because that's what they were saying. Because that's what they say. That's how they developed a lot of their equipment, is to combat the abilities of the Jedi.
Yeah. So obviously, like for me, sure, I was like, well, there's only one Jedi around at this point in time,
Luke.
So if that's who he's going to be looking for, he's certainly going to be meeting more with the New Republic in the next season because obviously Luke's sort of associated with them a little bit.
Do you think it'd be Mark Hamill? Because they obviously Rise of Skywalker spoilers there. They de-aged Mark Hamill in the Rise of Skywalker, and that looked incredible.
It did, but if you look at the surrounding thing, it was dark and it was the big lightsaber, so it all looked incredible. It also looked like dreamy.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Where I think if you were doing an actual scene, I don't know if they would be able to pull it off as well. If they could,
they have done it before though, because Samuel Jackson in Captain Marvel looked really good. De-aged.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's awesome, but you got to remember that like a television budget is not a film budget.
I suppose Captain Marvel probably had a bigger budget.
Yeah. So like, if you've got a $200 million movie, but then like this is like each episode only has $10 million. Does that make sense? So like,
I'm sure Disney could square a few more dollars just to get Mark Hamill de-aged.
So, I mean, they could afford it, but for them, it's like, where do they make that money back? I don't think they're going to make any extra money off the fact they do that, if that makes sense. So it'll be a case of like whether they deem the money worth the art, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, I would love it if it was Mark Hamill, if they could de-age him and make it look as seamless as possible. I'd be up for that. If not, I would settle for like recasting them.
Yeah, Sebastian Stanza.
Well, I mean, he looks like him, but I mean, anyone who they've in mind. But like, for me, it would have to look like him because obviously the time frame it's set in. But I mean, it's almost ones where like when Carrie Fisher passed away, I was a bit like, obviously I was very upset in that, and she'll always be Leia, like to me. But I was like, for me, I was always like, if they've got a story written for the next one and it's the story they want to do, then I was like, then recast her. Like the story. I mean, no one would think anything. Like I wouldn't be like disrespecting because it's not. It's at the end of the day, we respect the character and the story enough to where like we have to go on and finish it. And you could have recast her, and you could have got like anybody legendary. Do you know what I mean? You could have went and got Helen Mirren, and or do you know what I mean? Or sort of Dame Judi Dench, or like anyone who did screen tests and was great. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I think we'd be in the minority though. I think a lot of people, like especially nowadays, would find it very offensive, wouldn't they? I think they would. I think they'd be like, "Oh, it's disrespectful" and all that. I get you. I get if you've got a story for someone, and Carrie Fisher would want the story to go on. But,
I mean, 100%. Like, I mean, the story does need to go on. Like, and I think, like, if Sally, like, obviously Carrie as a storyteller was brilliant, but like, so Sally's just no longer available. Do you know what I mean? Like, that storytelling element, but there's other storytelling elements there, and I think. I mean, we're not going to talk about it, but obviously, like, they've went and reused all footage, and I think that's tied. I think that's tied the script down a lot for Rise of Skywalker because they've had to use this old footage.
They used Billy Lord as well, his daughter, obviously, to be the body of it.
Yeah, so it's just a bit like but it's just like a case for me. For me, I can't remember what actually.
What about Mark Hamill being de-aged?
Yeah. So I think, like, if they could do it, seamless, brilliant. If they need to recast them, then I wouldn't mind them doing that.
I don't mind recasting Luke. No, I've got no problem with that.
Yeah.
Or maybe Ahsoka. Maybe they come in contact with Ahsoka.
Well, you got yeah, definitely. So I mean, there's obviously, like, Luke's about, Ahsoka's about. Obviously, we don't know if Ezra's back yet.
Yeah, because obviously it's 5 years after the end of the Galactic Civil War, and then I'm guessing it's not long after the Galactic Civil War that Ahsoka and Sabine set off for their search for Ezra. So he might be back by this time.
Yeah, possibly. So who knows? But it's exciting. We're going to see some Jedi. Maybe he goes looking for Jedi in, like, old places where they're not there anymore, like old temples and stuff. So there could be some really cool sets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. It'd be really cool. If he's hunting down if he's trying to track down the Jedi, then, like we were saying, obviously there's only a few places you should really go. You can go.
Definitely. So, obviously, after that, the armourer fashions the Mandalorian his own signet.
Yep.
And she gives him the jetpack.
Yeah, the Rising Phoenix.
Yep. So
and his signet's the Mudhorn. Yeah, the Mudhorn.
Which is what Baby Yoda took down for him.
He's in a clan of 2, like she says.
Yeah. Which is cool. I love that, because obviously, like, he went there to sort of, and the child did save him. So they are kind of 2.
They're linked, yeah, obviously.
So, yeah.
Probably feels like he owes him a life debt.
Well, I mean, Star Wars life debts, like, the child did save him from the Mudhorn, so...
Well, yeah, he'd be dead, yeah, would, wouldn't he?
Yeah, so the armourer tells him that she'll stay and block the path, and the group are going to get out by going down, like, a ferry down a sort of underground lava river.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what you find is that the armourer goes to town on these Imperial troops that have come after her.
Oh, yeah, she messed them up with just with her tools as well.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that hammer, wow. Like, it's making some... I like how visceral the scene is, like, when she's fighting him, and how real it sounds, and, like,
as it's hammering the Stormtrooper's helmet.
Yeah, it's like it's gritty, it's real, but these guys deserve it. So, like, get in, like, you take them down, crunch them up. So yeah, it was brilliant. And while she's doing that, obviously the group's going down the underground lava river, and they get ambushed
with the astromech with legs and arms.
Yeah,
the gondola droid.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to get on, does he? Again, and it's like, well, you need to get on, mate, because like, the Mandalorian's like, oh, it's a droid pilot, I don't want to get on, but it's like, you need to, mate, like, they're right behind you.
Yeah, you need to get over yourself a bit.
Yeah. So they're ambushed by stormtroopers, and then it's when IG-11, obviously the joke from the first time we met him was his self-destruct mode.
So when they came back.
So it comes back, it's like, I'm going to initiate a self-destruct, and it's going to get you guys out of here. And then so they managed to end up getting out of the river because of IG-11 sacrifice.
The line IG-11 gives to him. He's like, "Oh, you don't need to be sad." He's like, "I'm not sad." He's like, "I analysed your voice. You're sad."
Yeah,
that was cool.
No, it was really, really good. So he sacrifices himself to let them guys get out, and then once they get out, Gideon attacks in the TIE fighter, and that's when the Mandalorian uses the jetpack, and he goes to fight the TIE fighter with the jetpack. And he manages to bring the TIE fighter down, which was really cool, really good use of the jetpack. Again, like, the scene on how much the scene cost. Like, again, like, budget for television is like, it's not huge. Do you know what I mean?
It looked like it could be in a movie, like, so.
So like, this scene would have cost loads. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this scene was the majority of the budget for this episode, because it was flawless. Do you know what I mean? It looked like it could be in a movie. Yeah. And for me, that's one of the things that this show is going to. For me, that's one of the things I thought would really. Not that it would, but I thought if this show was going to struggle anywhere, it would be keeping the quality of the movies and bringing it into the TV world. Because I mean, shows like Game of Thrones, like they do it a lot, but then there is sequences in there which are a bit like, oh, that's for television. Do you know what I mean? So like, but like I think this show has managed to do that where it's kept the quality up, but obviously like it has been. I think these episodes aren't long. And, do you know what I mean? And we only got 8 episodes, and for me that's because the budget was high on each one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think if you had made like hour-long episodes,
you would have seen through a bit more. Yeah, I get what you mean.
And you made them all an hour long. So say you made 10 episodes and all an hour long. The budget wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, definitely.
But
yeah, then obviously he's crashed the tie.
Yeah, so he crashes the tie, and then it's sort of. I'm trying to think what happens. Is that? Let's not talk about it just yet. So, is that the final
scene? They have the conversation. Yeah, no, they have Grief and Cara Dune are going to stay on Navarro, and Cara's going to be like act like his enforcer type person, because obviously the bounty hunters will come back to Navarro now that the Empire's gone.
Yeah, and obviously the guild's square with Mandalorian, so they're not going to be after him anymore. So yes, that's right. So yeah,
the child. I'm guessing the child hasn't got a bounty on him anymore.
Yep. So the child leaves with the Mandalorian.
Yeah. And then obviously the ending happens, which is.
Then we cut to the downed TIE fighter containing Moff Gideon.
With Jawa's already trying to scour it.
Yeah, that's really
cool. The fact that Jawa's already there.
That is cool. Like obviously they've had a big part in the episode here, and then just subtly here you see them like, oh, there's a wing here, we'll steal that. And then obviously you see the sort of the hull of the TIE fighter, and then straight away you hear the noise, and
the hull gets cut open.
Moff Gideon cuts himself out of the TIE fighter using the dark saber.
Yep.
Which this blew my mind when I was watching this.
Yeah, it did. Mine as well.
Just obviously for me it means so much. Like not only is it like really cool concept and it's from Mandalore and this is the Mandalorian, and obviously we've now learned that Moff Gideon was like big part of Mandalore's fall in the Purge. But then now you see this bit, it's like, oh well, that doesn't belong to him anyway, it belongs to the Mandalorians. And then also my first thought is what's he done to Bo-Katan? Yeah.
I've seen the theory as well though, because in Rogue One when Jin's going through the archives on Scarif, she says black saber. So I don't know whether the Empire created their own. I don't think this is the case. I think that's the dark saber we see in Rebels. But I wonder whether the Empire created their own.
Maybe. I mean, maybe Project Black Saber was like how to take down. Maybe that was the name they gave to destroy, and maybe that was the name for the Purge.
Yeah, I've seen that theory as well. Maybe Black Saber is the theory for getting rid of the Mandalorians.
Yeah, because they have that, and if you take that away from them, then that could put them in disarray. So, like, if he takes Bo-Katan down first and takes the saber, like all the rest of them will be like delirious. If that makes sense, be like, a bit lost. Then they're easier to defeat, maybe. So maybe it was like that whole military plan was called Black Saber.
Black Saber,
yeah.
But it makes me worry for Bo-Katan, like.
I mean, so there was a tweet that Katie Sackhoff put out.
Is there something about saying, really cool moment? Yeah, obviously, I can't tell you, but you'll find out soon enough.
She's just been filming something, and who's to say it's Star Wars, because she didn't say it was. It's just just done something, and like essentially saying it was like really awesome and cool. So to me, it was like, it was like, she's just recorded something for Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah.
Which again, it could be a flashback. You could see how he gets the saber off her, or maybe he's like imprisoned her, and she escapes.
Yeah, definitely. I've wanted Katie Sackhoff in the show since the show was announced, and it makes sense, massive sense. And now, obviously, he has something that she had, so they've obviously had a past, so she has to be in the show, surely.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, that brings this episode to an end. Have you got any final thoughts about this episode? And then we'll dive into the thoughts about the next season.
I loved it. It blew my mind. Like you said, the ending with the dark saber. I was like, no way. I was like, no way. Because when the show started, I said, we might see the dark saber, maybe like series 4, maybe. But to see it at the end of the first season was really cool.
Yeah, like obviously, I thought we'd see it in the hands of a Mandalorian. I thought we'd still have it. But obviously, no. Like we've learned through little sprinklings of facts that this big purge has happened, and then obviously right here you see, well, guess what? The purge has happened, and like the leaders no longer has the black saber, the dark saber, like the Empire has it. I mean, for me, I love the ending because it means that like, is Moff Gideon going to go after the Mandalorian?
Well, if it's like in the Clone Wars, obviously Darth Maul challenges Pre Vizsla to single combat, and then whoever wins, obviously takes control of Mandalore. So does he rule Mandalore?
So I don't think so. I think how it works is that like, I mean, how did he take it off of her? I doubt he challenged her to a battle. I just said yes. So like, I think it's a case of like, it's a symbol of that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So and then in that episode of Clone Wars, obviously Death Watch certainly, because it wasn't for he challenged him for the rule of Death Watch, not for Mandalore. If that makes sense.
It. Yeah.
And Death Watch just happened to be in control of Mandalore at the time. So I get the impression that like, for me, if Moff Gideon's going to chase after the Mandalorian, it'd be interesting to see, because we've seen the Moff with like his army and these nice TIE fighter go after the Mandalorian, but I'd like to see him go after him like one-on-one. Has he got the guts to do that?
Yeah, he seemed pretty handy though when they had that fight, and he nearly killed him. To be fair,
he did, but I just thought like, you're going to feel more confident with your whole like troops around you, like, and he had a lot of troops, and he had his own special like the Death Trooper consignment with him as well.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to be confident when you have a bunch of backup. Yeah,
like he was in full control of the whole situation. You know what I mean? And then obviously, like they still managed to get away. So it'd be interesting to see. So I mean, just quickly, I love this episode. I love how sort of the child and the Mando are off together. I love how it seems that the Mandalorian's looking for the Jedi to give the child to.
Yeah.
And I love how, obviously, it's good how Cara and Greef are staying together. So it means that if Mando needs help, you can hook back up with them too. Makes me think if they're staying on Navarro, though, like, what if Moff Gideon goes and tracks them down?
Yeah, definitely. They might have to be forced to flee, or
I could slice him up. Like, now we know he's got a dark saber.
Yeah, he definitely would. He doesn't seem like someone who let things go.
Definitely. Another thing as well is that, like, just quickly about Moff Gideon, is that, like, so he didn't really rub that saber on anyone's face. You only used it when he needed it to get out the TIE fighter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's a secret he's got it.
Yeah, so he's certainly not waving that thing around going, look at me, haha, and he wasn't like, Mando, look at this. You think you're Mando, but I'm actually the Mando because I've got this. Again, he was very, do you know what I mean? He was kept, like, for whatever reasons, he wasn't really blowing his own trumpet with that. So yeah, I mean, going on to season 2, I mean, I can't wait for season 2. I think it's going to be brilliant.
I know we'll be able to watch it on Disney Plus. Which is a plus.
Yeah, definitely. Be watching on Disney Plus. Hopefully, hope he doesn't get put back in the UK. Yeah,
anyway.
But it shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't.
But I think season 2, obviously, the teased for fall this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to come out roughly the same time as season 1 came out, so probably looking at November time.
I would love it if it came a bit earlier.
So would I.
I don't want to have to wait that long.
No.
But who knows? Especially with no movie next year.
No movie for 3 years, is there?
Yeah, so we've got no movie next year. So I think let's I mean, my first hope is we get more episodes.
Yeah.
And that's not because I thought these 8 episodes were like perfect and like they told the story that we needed to tell to get to the end point and like it. But as a Star Wars fan and being greedy, I'm just like, give us more.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind like 12, 13 episodes next season would be brilliant. Obviously, as I've said before, the budget might have something to say about that, but you've got to think a lot of this technology they've developed, they've now developed some of it. So therefore that is a cost off of the budget for next year, you would think. So,
but then probably the show's got to get bigger in scope as well. So
yeah, I mean, that's my second thing is that I hope they go to like different planets. So like we've done these planets, let's go to even more different planets now.
Mandalore.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if we only see it in flashbacks, I think that would be great to sort of get that feeling. So what's your thoughts for season 2?
I hope that we obviously see Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan, which I'm pretty sure, like, it's got to be now. Like, there's got to be you've got to see an explanation of how he has the Darksaber, so she's got to be in season 2.
Yeah, even if it is through a flashback, like, even if that's all it was, I'd be happy with that.
Oh, just to see her as the character, yeah. And I'd like to see more Jedi stuff if he's going to find the Jedi, which obviously means Luke Skywalker. I'd like to see what Luke's doing at this point, 5 years after he's obviously destroyed the Emperor and Vader. So that'd be cool to see. And then I just want to see more. I'd like to see more of the underworld element as well. Because I think the underworld in Star Wars is a massive place for stories that could be told. Because we don't really have a lot of it. I know we have like Solo, and we've obviously seen a bit with the Mandalorian, but I'd like to see a lot more of the bounty hunting and the criminal element of the galaxy. I think that'd be quite cool for Series 2.
You've got to think the Mando's going to need money still. So and because he's now back with the guild, I can see him like doing jobs while he's trying to find the Jedi. If that makes sense, because obviously you need to eat and need fuel. Yeah. So yeah, and I got the impression Luke's not going to be in one place. So if you obviously Battlefront 2, you see that Luke's like hunting for relics all over the place. Yeah. If obviously even if you read like issue 2 of the Rise of Kylo Ren, like Luke and Kylo and Laws on Tekka are again like off on some random planet looking for like following these facts to find Jedi lore. So like, and also, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that again probably part of the downfall was that the New Republic sort of distanced themselves from Luke Skywalker, didn't they?
Yeah.
Even though he sort of won the war for them, it was a bit like,
yeah, thanks, mate, but we'll play off the side now.
Yeah, because we don't really want like the Jedi involved type of thing. Where like, so again, like, if they don't really know, and again, I think he probably feels a bit put up by that. That's why he's like, well, I just need to go and find myself and find out what I'm all about and what the Jedi are all about.
Well, I could see Luke saying, I don't want the Jedi to be affiliated with the Republic, because obviously it didn't end well the last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him saying, "Oh, we're going to pull off and be more of our own thing."
And he has one for you. So I reckon during this season 1, Ben Solo was probably like 4, 5, or 6, something like that. 4 or 5.
He's born 1 year after the Battle of Endor, so he'd be about 4 at this point. Yeah.
So like, if Luke's got, I mean, I doubt Luke will have Ben yet, because I don't think she would have Leia wouldn't have given Ben for him to train yet. But if he's using Force powers, they might know about that.
Yeah. Obviously.
Could be very interesting times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the next season could go in many different directions. But for me, I just want it to still be like weekly adventure. I want to see new planets, like I said. Hoping that we're tying some Jedi lore into this, which I think we will, because he's looking for the Jedi. And same as you, I hope we get Bo-Katan, and I hope we get like even more like molecules information about the Purge of Mandalore. Would be brilliant.
If I could add one more thing as well, I'd love to see some of like the famous bounty hunters like Bosk, Dengar, all that type of thing. I think that'd be pretty cool to see. Like, obviously he starts on one level and then you go up another level, and eventually you get to the top level, which is like Bosk, Dengar.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to see IG-88, to be honest.
Yeah, but he has one. How about Cad Bane?
God, that'd be I'd love that. Obviously, we don't know how his story ends from Clone Wars, because they had that deleted thing with him and Boba Fett where they both shot each other at the same time. But obviously, Boba Fett was wearing a helmet, so I don't know whether that's canon or whether they might retell.
So I've always thought of this is that in that scene, obviously you don't see what happens. So you see Boba's helmet spin around. I would love it if like Boba's blast went in the top of the hat.
Yeah.
So it's like hasn't actually touched his head. It's like shot through the hat, and like they've both got each other in the head, but both heads have been like protected or whatever. Obviously the hat hasn't protected him, but obviously the hat, Boba's hit a part of the hat which he thinks has covered his full head, but it's obviously hasn't. Yeah. So I would love if like they've both escaped because of their headwear.
Yeah.
That's always been my little thought about that since I've seen that. Because I first saw that at Celebration in London. So I first seen that, like Dave had it on it was like a Legends panel of like stuff.
What would have happened with the Clone Wars? I remember watching that on YouTube. That panel, it was really good.
Yeah. So it was like in the show that I thought, I think they both survived. And I think like obviously Boba definitely has because it's hitting in the helmet. And I was like, I think Cad Bane's been shot like in the hat, but it's part of the hat that's been like not covering a part of the body. If that makes sense, like empty hat.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like that's obviously just my thoughts. I'm not saying that's true, but like
I'd love to see Cad Bane. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, it's funny. So like at Celebration London, I'm bumping into Dave Filoni on the floor.
Yeah.
So obviously this was in London, so like not many people knew who Dave is. I mean, if he did it now, I think there'd be more people bothered because of like the Star Wars show and Rebels Recon and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the time, wasn't. So like I spotted him on the floor, on the show floor, and he was talking with his wife and his family, and he was like a bit like, and I'm pretty sure I heard him say like, "Oh, they were going to look at some VR thing," and he was like, "I'm going to have a little one around the shop floor and check out some people." And like, there's obviously some people in Rebels cosplay.
Yeah.
They obviously spotted him, recognised, and they got a picture with him. So the Rebels people got a picture with him. And then I went up to him after and was like, "Oh, Dave, would it be okay to get a photograph with you, mate?" Like, like obviously, like I've just past few years really sort of get back into Star Wars, and obviously, like I've seen you're like a big part of what's going on. He's like, "Oh yeah, like no problem, it's really nice." And then I asked him as I was getting the picture, I was like, "Oh, Dave, like, can I ask you a question?" He goes, "Oh yeah, no problem." I was like, "Cad Bane, do you think he's alive still, like in canon, like at this point?" And he was like, and he stopped and paused to think about it. It was really cool. Like he didn't just like pies off with like a silly answer. Like you can see him like thinking about it, and he was like, "Oh, you have someone I've not thought about in a while." But he was like, he was like, for all intents and purposes, like, yeah, like I don't have like I'm not saying he is, but like, there's not a definitive end at the minute type of thing. And it was just like really cool. So like he was like sort of, not that he would say he was dead, but like the fact that he didn't score, like, I don't know.
The fact he didn't rule it out, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's dead."
Yeah, and you could see him put.
Yeah,
he was obviously being careful. He's pondering what he could see and what he couldn't see as well. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so it was like really cool. So like I think Cad Bane like could be alive, and I think like this would be the perfect backdrop to put him into.
Oh, it'd be awesome, yeah. And people would lose their minds because, like I said, he's a really popular character, Cad Bane. Like I loved him in Clone Wars. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing to do with Mandalorian, but like, who would you cast as Cad Bane?
I don't really know, to be fair. Do you have an idea?
So for me, you know his voice.
Yeah.
And so I would get Tom Hardy.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, that would be good. Shave his head, paint him blue.
Yeah, I mean, you could put makeup on him and like prosthetics and all that, but I think like he would definitely get the voice down, like, and the physicality of him. I think he would get like. I think Tom Hardy would be like a really. I don't know. I've always just thought Tom Hardy would be my Cad Bane.
Cad Bane, yeah.
Bane as well. There you go, Bane as well. So actually, be Bane and Batman, but that's not the reason why. But
people wanted him to be Darth Bane as well. Anything with Bane in it.
Yeah. Oh, well, to be fair, he would make a good Darth Bane as well. So.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Hardy's great, isn't he? I think he would be great in whatever he got.
Yeah.
But
he was a stormtrooper in The Last Jedi, so maybe he's done.
yeah, he was. So, but yeah, I think that brings it sort of into our conversation about the Mandalorian. Obviously, season 2 is hopefully coming sooner rather than later, but probably no later than November.
Yeah.
Obviously, Celebration is August this year.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there'll be like a panel there, and that's where they'll debut the trailer.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there'll be something Mandalorian related there.
Which is a shame because like I don't think I'll be going this year. So it's I've been the past 3. So it's one of those things where I get sad because I'm probably not going to this one.
Yeah.
But you've always got to think like I've been to the last 3.
Yeah, I've never been. So you're lucky.
Well, that's I mean, Celebration is awesome. Like I said, like my first one was London, so it was like it was actually more accessible for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did Orlando, I did Chicago. Obviously, this year's been crazy because like I bought a house. I've got engaged to my lovely girlfriend as well this year. So it's like, thank you. Yeah. So it's been like pretty whirlwind. Like those things like take up money that I'll probably spend on Celebration.
Me and my girlfriend bought a house December last year. It was bought our first house, so we're still trying to sort it out to this day. So we're always bleed skinned, so there's no chance.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got to think like I would like to think the next one will be Europe.
Oh, I hope so. I really do. The last 3 have been in America, so come on, send it back over to London.
Yeah, or even if they did like Germany, it would still be like it would be easier than
cheaper.
Like. Do you know what I mean? So. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, I'm hoping. I've got a secret hope. I hope I get to go this year, but it's not looking like it at the moment. But I definitely recommend it. You have to go to one.
Next one that's in Europe, or if I fall into a pit of money and manage to get over to America to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I find is like prepare. So like, I mean, you might not be able to. So it depends on like, so like obviously. The past one, so like the one for like Chicago and for Orlando, like I started saving like a year earlier, putting money aside for it because I knew it would be coming up, and they dropped the information out the blue. If that makes sense. So you need to like be ready to strike when tickets go on sale or when they announce the place, you can book your hotel. So like for anyone listening who's like interested in going but find that it's out the blue and I can't afford it. Like if you're wanting to go like next year's one, like 2021,
I'll start putting money away. Yeah.
Then start putting money away because it just means that like because they'll drop it out the blue, it'll be on the Star Wars show one day a bit what, and then like the next week it'll go on sale. Yeah. So like it means you're ready to strike when that happens, and it saves like obviously like people getting into sort of credit card problems and stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. But,
yeah, I would, but I think like for some people like
people would,
like,
yeah.
Like you know what I mean, it might see it as easy and like obviously it's not so much problem for some people, but like for people who are like particularly like the working class and stuff, and especially in this country where it's pretty much working poor almost. Yeah. Like it's hard, you know what I mean? So I think like my advice to anyone would be put money away, just whatever you can, and just keep putting it away. Yeah. And it'll build up to whatever it builds up to. Yeah. And what you'll find is that they'll announce something out the blue and you'll be, oh well, guess what? I don't need to find the cash. I don't have to worry about it. I'm just literally read the information, follow the instructions, and go and get the stuff.
Like I say, it'd be great if it was in London then, because it's just a train ride down to a hotel. That's fine.
Yeah, definitely mean same. Yeah, like so for London, like I just got a train down. I didn't even need a hotel because Alan, our other co-host, lives in London.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I just stayed with him. So that was free.
There you go.
Yeah, and like it was crazy because I remember that one in London. Like I didn't realize it was in London that year, and I finally seen it. And then like weekend tickets were sold out, so I had to buy like a pass for each day.
Yeah,
which was fine. But yeah, like if I had been more on the ball, I would have saved myself even more money.
Yeah.
Because obviously the weekend passes sort of cost less.
Yeah.
But again for London, it didn't sell out where like straight away. Like there were still tickets on sale in like January, February, like this time of year, ready for like the April celebration. So you've got to think that like celebration Anaheim's already sold out, and it's sold out on like the day of release for the weekend tickets.
Yeah.
So
that was dead though. So.
Well, that was funny because that was the storyline at the time. I was like, well, guess what? Like no one's been able to get tickets because it's sold out.
It's almost as if there's an angry minority somewhere saying this stuff. But anyway, I won't get into that.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely is made. Like, there's definitely negative voices in the fandom who are louder than positive ones. So
negativity is always louder in it than positive.
Yeah.
That's why I don't tweet anything negative. Really, I've had the odd groan about Disney Plus, but that's nothing to do with Star Wars. That's just
definitely. I think it's different between
annoyed.
I mean, another thing as well. Like if you're criticizing something. Like in a criticizing the art form, like that happens. That's what art's there for.
Like I said, I've got things going on with Rise of Skywalker. I've got no problem with people who've got a genuine criticism. But when I just hear, "Oh well, that was terrible. Star Wars is dead," it's like, well, okay, you haven't got anything to back up your criticism. If you say I didn't like what they did with such and such, then fair enough. That's fine. I've no problem with that. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like obviously, like last week in the podcast, I was quite vocal about I think I had about four things that I criticised from I've seen the movie 4 times, and there's 4 things that were always there. And it's because, in my opinion, they were in the script. But also I had a great time at the movie theater watching the movie. Do you know what I mean? I had a great time recording that podcast talking about it. Yeah. So for me, the enjoyment factor of Star Wars is always going to be there, even if there's certain things I disagree with. And you got to think there's is it 10 or 11 movies now? 11 movies? 10? Well, it's 3, 6, 9 plus 2, so that's 11.
Yeah, 11. Yeah.
So for me, it's 11 movies. Chances are, you're not going to find 11 movies to be the perfect movie. Yeah. And if you do, that's brilliant because imagine how positive you feel if you every movie you ever see that's great. But for me, I love Star Wars. Yeah. There's some things that as even this episode, I said this series, few things I'm did they have to do that? But you've also got to think as well. I always look at this way as yes, as people we have our opinions and we like to talk about our opinions in the social media. We especially like to talk about our opinions. Yeah. But I always like to check myself. So I'll be yep. So at the end of the day, I'm for example, I criticized Chris Terrio's script in certain places last week.
Yeah.
But also, Chris Terrio is an Academy Award-winning scriptwriter and has wrote for Warner Brothers. He's wrote for Lucasfilm now. Do you know what I mean? he's wrote for Ben Affleck, who's like a great director. I work like in warehousing and fashion, like in my day job. Yeah. So like, so he's a lot more qualified than me to write that script. So you've also, I think it's important to check yourself. Yeah, like, I always find it like I like a little bit. Do have opinions on things? Sometimes I don't like stuff, but like I think you've got to check yourself as well when you're doing it. And
I'm the same way it comes. Like, I'm a Newcastle United fan, and like sometimes I go crazy, but then I'm thinking, well, they're Premier League footballers.
Well, so, I mean, I am as well. So like both Newcastle fans here, but like it is that thing where like I mean, people don't realize that like people are like, well, like they're not footballers not trying. It's like, well, it depends, mate, because like that footballer like eats right every day. Yeah. Like more or less, like trains right, makes decisions where like they're going to bed early, they're not out partying. Obviously, some of them do, but like more or less, most pros like, and they do that for like all the like from age like 16 up to like 32.
To be fair, I mean, you'll probably do another complete different show. And like, I think there's been a fair few Newcastle players who didn't try in the last like couple of years, but we won't get into that here.
Yeah, I mean, like, there'll be a few, but like, but you can't blame the whole team. Like, I think people do that. So like, you've always got to like think like, oh, like what's going on in their lives as well. You don't know what's going on like in other people's lives.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we like the whole point of this podcast for me was to be positive, and obviously, that doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about things I don't like, because I think it's important to like to criticize in a constructive way the things that don't seem right.
There's stuff that Disney have done that I've gone, oh, that was a bit. There was a Chewbacca comic that came out.
I've not read that. I need to pick that up still. I don't either.
No. And exactly, that's me being negative, but I don't go online. That's my personal thought, but I don't go on to Twitter and go, wow, who released this comic? Whoever released this comic is an idiot and should never do this. It's like, no, I just didn't like that comic.
Yeah, because there might be someone out there who like loves Chewbacca.
Love it, yeah.
And they're like, oh, guess what? I finally got my Chewbacca comic. I've been wanting this for years. And oh, guess what? You've got it now. There you go. Enjoy it.
It's just very hard to enjoy a comic where the main character doesn't speak.
I can imagine that's difficult. Yeah.
But like I said, I go on Twitter and you very rarely see me post anything negative because I just don't want to. There's enough negativity for enough people. If I don't like, that's why there's certain stuff I won't really tweet about, because I didn't enjoy it, I did enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it as much. And it's just, there you go, that's life.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the things I did. I didn't really get into, certainly Rise of Skywalker, I didn't really get into it on Twitter. Obviously, I sent me a piece on the podcast last week, and that's, if I go any more podcasts and I get asked about it, I'll talk about the movie. Obviously, I'll talk about the things I like about it, as well as the things that I didn't like so much. But other than that, like, I'm certainly not like trying to pass that on to anyone else. And like, no. And one other thing, like, for anyone who's doing it as well, like for anyone who's like going after certain people and telling them like to die and stuff, it's just a silly space movie. Like, you don't need to go after J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson, or even like prequels, or go after George Lucas, or even like or on the best and like and tell them to die. Yeah, like that's just. But to me, that's not like.
That says more about them than
it does, and like, and I don't think that's necessarily like. I don't think that's necessarily like a poisonous fandom. I think they're poisonous humans, and I think they would be like that in every aspect of their life. If you're going to tell like someone to create that to die because they created something you didn't like, like I think like you're
the problem, not.
You're a vile person, and you'll be vile, in all aspects of your life, not just in fandom.
Like I said, like we say, I've got no problem with people with valid criticism. There is plenty of things in the Rise of Skywalker, like just take that for example, that don't make a lot of sense. And if you can tell me, oh, that didn't make like a lot of sense because of that, then fair enough, that's your opinion, like I said. But if you just come and say, oh, the Rise of Skywalker was terrible, and anyone who likes it is not a real Star Wars fan, I've got no time for it. Go away. Go away.
No, definitely, Because as far as I'm concerned, anybody who likes one thing about Star Wars, like to me, it's like if you see I met someone like, oh, like I've only seen one, I just like one bit. Well, guess what? I can probably talk to you about that one bit. Yeah. So that makes you a fan to me. So they're going to have an interaction now and have a good time talking about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's many different Star Warses now. You've got the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, sequel
animated
trilogy,
stuff.
Animated stuff, Clone
comics,
Wars,
books.
So like the entry points into Star Wars now are huge. Vast, so like, you'll be speaking to different people, and you find that celebration. You'll find your mic's breaking up quite a bit there.
So sorry.
No, sorry. No worries. I thought it was maybe about to cut off, which I was no, please don't cut off. It's like when you go. I mean, I imagine you'll go to a celebration soon. I really hope you get to go to one soon. But like, you'll find out the people there like or like, I mean, like that. I've never experienced the negativity there.
Yeah,
because I think the vile people don't spend money on stuff like that.
You don't spend money to go pay for something that you don't like and you want to complain about. It's just people who want to go and have a good time and meet other people who love it.
Yeah, definitely. So what you'll find is that, but the people there who are all positive, like every one of them is like probably come in through like a different avenue into Star Wars. So like some will go into it through like Clone Wars, some will come through Rebels, some will be through original trilogy, some will be from prequels, some will be through the sequels. And that's great as well because it means like it's really diverse and like I said, I don't want to chat to people like who are exactly the same as me because it's just like talking to yourself. Do you know what I mean? You don't really learn anything. Where if you're chatting to people who have your mic's going a bit crazy there, buddy.
Sorry.
Everything all right? So I think Ian's just getting that mic issue sorted. But yeah, basically what I was saying is like there's many different avenues into Star Wars. And I think that's great because it keeps the conversation flowing, it keeps new conversations from happening, and it keeps people like myself, the Star Wars fan since '94, like it keeps it fresh and learning new things. And you speak to people who are coming from a different way, and you learn different perspectives about things. And that's what's so great about this fandom is that like it's fresh, it's new, it's never boring, and there's always new people to talk about, new things with. But that pretty much brings us up to like an end of our Mandalorian review. I think once the Mandalorian's released in the UK and Disney Plus arrives, I think I'll do a look back episode where we watch it all again and look at it all in one episode throughout the whole 8 chapters. Just let you know that the Star Wars show is on social media. We are on Instagram at Star Wars Podcast. We are on Twitter at BorsStar. You can email us, starwarspodcast@gmail.com. And we're also on Facebook now. Just search Star Wars Podcast and you can find us on Facebook. We are running some giveaways at the moment. So we are giving away these lovely pin badges, enamel pin badges. They're heart shapes and they've got R2D2 and C3PO in them. And what these were they're from the Variety Club, the children's charity. And they were part of the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace 3D release promotion push. So we're giving these away. So if you go to our social media channels, you can find out how to enter a chance to win. Obviously, it's free entry, and we'll ship anywhere in the world. So, like, don't worry if you're from America, if you're from Canada, if you're from Mexico, if you're from the North Pole, if you're from Alderaan, we will manage to ship you a badge if you win. So please check those out. So, talking about tech issues, Ian's mic has not come back on yet. So I'm getting the impression that he won't be back on. So I'll just sign off for Ian. Obviously, Ian's a lovely Star Wars fan. He's great to chat with. And he will definitely be back on the show. But thanks for listening, everyone. May the Force be with you.